Greetings Internet, DDA here, and welcome to the second Awakening deck list Random Number Gaming has to offer you. This time again with Trunks of the Longsword, Defender of the Universe and Time Stream, and Destroyer of both Frieza and Zamasu. This list is going to be very similar to the Ruthless Trunks build that we released earlier, except instead of being more aggro beats, this deck is a lot more controlling. So let's just scan over the list real quick. So you're going to see a lot of the freestyle cards are very similar, and the styled cards are just kind of swapped out a little bit. We run very, very similar numbers across the board of blocks, setups, and drills. A little bit more setups than we do in the Ruthless build. So we run the same levels, the Vengeance 1, Awakening 2, and the Evolution 3 and 4. Now, I said last time that you can kind of swap out the Evolution 3 and 4 for Awakening. I don't think so in this build. The Evolution 3 is way too strong with how this deck can combo attacks from the discard pile, mainly with cards like Saiyan Sword Strike. And also it plays the Dynamic Mastery, which allows you to start on 2. You don't have to start on 2. You can actually start on level 1. And we're going to be utilizing that choice in this deck. The level 1 Trunks is extremely strong in this build, which I'm going to go over later. But in a lot of the matchups, we're actually going to start on level 1. But in other matchups, we're going to start on level 2. So now, without further ado, let's talk about the attacks. So here are the attacks we're working with. You can see pretty much the same sword package that we're running in the Ruthless build. So except instead of Red Sword Stab, we have Saiyan Sword Strike, which is actually stronger in my opinion. It doesn't have endurance, but it gains the ability that if your opponent passed in his last action, this attack cannot be stopped nor have its damage prevented. Now, the reason that this card is amazing in this deck is twofold. Because not only can you activate it with Trunks Slam, if you block an attack, you can make them pass, and then mid-combat do an unstoppable Sword Strike. But the other reason that it's really good is because this deck generates an insane amount of actions. The number of actions that this deck can do, both attacks from the hand and using setups on the board, using effects like Saiyan Rescue, is more than most other decks. So chances are you're going to be able to elongate the combat for yourself longer than the opponent can actually play cards, and then always activate the unstoppable portion of this card. It's extremely strong. I'd play 6 of them if I could. Again, going with the sword suite here of the Trunks Sword Slash for banishing, the Knee Bash, just a spectacular card that every Trunks deck needs to be playing 3 of these. Likewise, Trunks Slam, again, you're going to want to play 3 copies of Trunks Slam in pretty much every single Trunks deck. Dashing Sword Attack, again. The great thing about Dashing Sword Attack in this deck is while the red deck gets to tutor Dashing Sword Attack from the discard pile with Red Slicing Sword Drill, the Saiyan deck gets to tutor Dashing Sword Attack from the life deck with the Saiyan Sword Block. So, and then a good thing about all the Saiyan style attacks that we're running, the prep balls, the aerial attacks, the turning kicks, and the sword strikes, they're all going to gain the anger from the Dynamic Mastery. Now, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to level with this deck. When you choose either level 1 or level 2 at the beginning of the game, you're pretty much going to stay there for the remainder of the game. Unless something crazy happens. I have leveled probably in about 15 games that I played this deck. I've leveled maybe once or twice. So it really just doesn't happen that often. Actually, in this deck, I started out playing Extreme Training, but I dropped it because I never got the crit with it. There was no reason to play it. That's partially because of the Dynamic Mastery, partially because of the 6 anger, requirement to level, and also because we just don't play that much anger in this deck. The sword strikes, the knee bashes. Well, the knee bashes gain anger, so the sword slashes, and the dashing sword attacks, they don't gain anger. Everything else does gain anger, though. So moving on here, we have the spin kicks. These are just great. This deck is really good against allies because of Menace, But sometimes there are allies that you want to kill, whether it be like Yajirobe that's stopping you from opening up with Menace, or Chi-Chi that's stopping your physical attacks, or something of the like. There are some allies you want to kill, so this spin kick is good at 2 endurance, and also it has an anger raise and anger lower. So Pret Ball is just spectacular for any hero control build. This is going to let you tutor your rescues from your discard pile and let you tutor Emergence from the discard pile. It's just a great combo card, very aggressive card. The aerial attacks in here, 3 endurance, can't go wrong with that. Also, we play a pretty heavy drill suite in here. We play 4 style drills, so there's going to be 3 different options, 4 total options for you to choose with tutor out with this card. And the great thing about it is this basically becomes like an energy body blow, because you can get the overpowering aura drill and then get your rescue out, so it's like body blow in a sense. 2 heroic dashing punches are great. This is a stage lock deck, so being able to put the extra pressure on the opponent with that skip for stage lock is going to be great. You can open up with it and then follow with the Menace just to make sure they're at 0. Plus, the extra anger tech is just amazing. I tried out Saiyan Peace in here. I really didn't like it because it was a setup. It was clunky when I would draw into it in my hand. And a lot of times, the heavy anger builds, they're running board control. They can get rid of Peace before they level. Dashing Punch shuts the opponent down for an entire combat and ensures that you're going to be able to push a lot of damage. Turning Kick at 3, pretty much the greatest thing that Saiyan drill builds have gotten. If this card is banished for endurance, you may search your discard pile for a drill and play it. So spectacular. It has 3 endurance, so you're going to find yourself wanting at least 3 or 4 drills in your deck if you want to make use of this card. So it gives you an extra drill tutor, and likewise, it does 4 life cards, and if you control a style drill, this attack deals plus 3 life cards, and damage cannot be prevented. It becomes a 7 life card unpreventable attack when you have a style drill in play. Ridiculously powerful. So open up with this guy, they're gonna block it, and if they don't, they're getting creamed in the face. And then once they block it, hey, your dashing sword attack's gonna hit then. So that's it for the attacks, guys. So now let's go over the events and blocks. So these are the events and blocks that we're going to be working with. So we're going to start out here with 3 Saiyan Emergence, an excellent card. I tried out Drive-By here in the beginning, but again, like the anger, I just was never able to get a sufficient amount of anger for me to really make use of Drive-By. And the Emergence is excellent because this is a heavy stage pressure, heavy stage lock deck. So a lot of times the opponent is only going to have 2 or 3 stages, 4 stages maybe. Open up with Emergence as your first action and stage lock them without them even being able to respond, except with a sphere, of course. 2 rescues, just because we always want rescue on us. Rescue is pretty cornerstone to this deck. This is a pseudo Menace deck, although we don't need Menace to win. But it is a Menace deck in that we sort of revolve around Menace. So we're going to want to play Rescue at 2 to make sure that we get that early game in every game. 2 spheres again. Spheres should be in every deck, guys. I'm going to say this over and over in my deck list videos moving forward. I don't have heroic spheres, but I will be getting them soon. The blocks that we're running 3 Outrages just for an Omni block and the extra attached tutor. We run 2 attached cards that we always want on us. So we have the Rescue. We want that as fast as possible. And then likewise, we have run 3 flips. Now, I know this is a double-edged sword, guys. But what you have to understand about this card is that this is a camp deck. So our AT is pretty low. If you decide to start on 1, your AT is super low. If you decide to start on 2, your AT is pretty strong. But still, against personalities like Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, they're very strong. Broly, you're always getting the 4 stages on there on all your attacks. So your dashing sword is doing 8, the 2 stage lower. Your Trunks sword slash is doing 8. Your sword strikes are doing 8. Everything's coming in and hitting like a truck. And the great thing about this deck specifically is that the physical defense of this deck is extremely high. So we have the 3 Omni blocks. We have the 3 Saiyan sword dodges that you can actually tutor out with aggressive sword drill whenever you need them. And then you have the 3 flips, And then you likewise have the level 2. And in physical aggro heavy matchups, you're going to start on level 2. So it's very easy for you to have 2, 3, 4 physical blocks a turn, a combat every time. So it happens a lot to me, and it's very frequent. So why not have Flip? Because all your attacks are hitting like a truck, and you're blocking your opponent's attacks anyway. So 3 copies on Flip. I had it at 1, then I put it at 2, then I realized it needed to be a 3 of. Trust me, guys. So we already kind of talked about the sword dodge. Excellent Saiyan card. The thing that I like the most about it is that it's banished after use, and I know that's crazy to say. Why would I like it to be banished after use? Because the greatest thing ever is to tutor this out with Aggressive Sword Drill, stop the first physical attack, discard a non-sword card for a sword attack that I want, then immediately block their next attack with the level 2 Trunks, rejuvenating that sword dodge to get next combat and start the cycle over again. It's like you have 2 blocks and an extra attack in your hand continuously. So we only run 2 hard energy blocks. These energy blocks are actually pretty spectacular though. They have endurance, they rejuvenate if you change levels, and they add PUR. It's pretty solid. I had hand swipe in here, but it's kind of just, hand swipe is hit or miss. Like you throw out that one attack, they usually block it. I like the extra PUR, and the rejuvenation has saved me a few times in games. And then of course Time is a Warrior's Tool. So that's it for the events and blocks, guys. So now let's go over the planning cards. So these are the planning cards that we're running. Pretty standard and very comparable to the Ruthless build. We again run 3 the non-style drills, so a little bit less. 4 style drills, which is the same count as the Ruthless build. We run 5 setups, so that's more. We run 0 setups in the Ruthless deck. So you can see the difference in how this is a more control build versus the Ruthless deck is more face beats. So we run 2 aggressive sword drills here, again, and the hidden power drill, and this is all for the level 1. Now, so if you start level 1, you're going to, again, want to pull out aggressive sword drill first, get that tutor going with the sword cards. The sword cards we run in this deck are amazing, and you're going to be happy that you're going to be pulling out those blocks, those extra attacks. It's just great. The hidden power drill is very significant in this deck. This is a stage lock deck. You're not going to want to play hidden power drill out against ally decks because you're actually lowering your maximum damage potential by banishing the allies, because we have 3 copies of Menace. So if the opponent is playing allies, don't even worry about it. Just forget about hidden power drill. But if the opponent is leveling a lot, then play hidden power drill to make sure that your stage loss matters. If you have hidden power drill in play, a Saiyan Emergence is 1 stage away from stage locking the opponent. Transformation drill is excellent just for the extra rejuve and the extra menace loop, and also you can bounce all drills in play by banishing this drill when entering combat. You're not going to always want to do that. This deck does run a lot of drills, but against some orange builds, like, Retribution Roshi, they get like 4 drills in play, bounce all their drills to their hand, then suddenly they can't get them back in their deck. You kill their crying drill combo, you kill their checkup drill combo, you kill all their combos. They won't expect it. No one expects it. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. So just do it and then watch the look in their face, honestly. So Protection Drill, I've often said this card is probably one of the greatest drills in the game. It's just in Saiyan style, who didn't have that much drill support. With Turn and Kick now, it's getting there in the biggest way. I actually consider running 2 copies of this drill, with how good it is. It's that good, guys. Like, this drill is going to save you 9 to 15 damage a game if you just let it sit on the field with the extra rejuvenation and extra damage modifier. So we do run 2 copies of a style drill, 2 copies of the Overpowering Aura drill, and this is for 2 reasons. 1, so that we can draw it early game or tutor it early game and get out Saiyan Rescue and Saiyan Flip as fast as possible. Also, because of the anger lower. This deck has a lot of rejuvenation, and every time you rejuvenate during combat, you're going to be lowering your opponent's anger 1, and that is going to be very important. This meta has a ton of anger. The dashing punches, the dashing sword attacks, they're not enough. We need more anger tech, and that is it right here. So, of course, we run Visiting the Past because this is a Control-y combo deck. We want that Visiting the Past in there just to ensure we have great hands. And then the 3 Menace. This is a Menace loop deck. It does play Menace loop. It doesn't need it to win, but it will win if the opponent does not counter it. A lot of games, a lot of people are running Banishing now. They're getting rid of it, and that's fine. But games that I even just have 1 Menace left, I will win with Menace. And that is just great. It's so fun to be able to do that. So that's it for the deck list, guys. So now, how are we going to play? How are you guys going to play? How are we going to strategize? Let's talk about how we're going to play this deck. So how are you going to play this deck, guys? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is look at the opponent's MP stack. You're going to want to decide in the beginning of the game what level you're going to start on. And that is level 1 or level 2. If you are facing any aggressive physical beats deck, like we're talking Brawly, Android 13, anything Ruthless, anything Turles, you're going to start on this level. It's going to give you an extra physical block at all times, so they're automatically down a card. And it's also going to give you extra crits to curb their anger, and you're just going to be strong. The rejuvenation from the Banish Zone is spectacular in this deck. Dashing Swords just going back into the life deck. The Saiyan Sword Dodge going back into the life deck for even more physical blocks. You almost seem to have infinite physical defense when you start on this level. Now, as a counter to that, if you're not facing an aggro beats physical deck, you're going to start on level 1. So a lot of the times, probably more than 50% of the time, you're going to start on level 1. Now, you may be asking yourself, why in the world would I start on level 1? What is this level giving me? After I tutor my Aggressive Sword, after I maybe tutor my Hidden Power Drill, why do I care about this level of Trunks? And the answer is simple. So this level 1 Trunks, anytime you play a sword card, you're going to rejuvenate 1. So what does that mean? That means that if you have Menace on the top of your discard pile, when you play a sword card, before immediate effects, you will get Menace back in play. So that means that if you do Menace, your opponent physically attacks you, you Saiyan Sword Dodge it, you'll get Menace back in play. You do something else to block it. You play a Saiyan Sword attack. You play a Dashing Sword attack. You play anything, any sword card, you're getting Menace back in play. It gives you a free engine for the Menace loop. It's spectacular. Okay? You can do Menace 5, 6 times in a single combat, easily. And this is what I mean when I say you only need 1 copy of Menace. So, kind of as a contrast between this deck and the Raditz Saiyan deck, so the Raditz Saiyan deck gets on level 4, and then it plays Menace multiple times. It needs multiple copies of Menace. This deck can play Menace multiple times, but it only needs 1. Just 1 to start the train. So try it out, guys, and that's the reason. So that's what you gain from starting on level 1. You gain the Drill Tutor and the Menace Loop. So it's 2 things, and that's why against ally decks and any energy beatdown decks, you're going to start level 1. Because it doesn't matter that you're stronger. Who cares? You have infinite Menace. You're going to mill ally decks to death. This deck is a hard counter to any ally deck. Hard counter. They're just not going to win. Any tag team deck, you just win. You just win. There's nothing they can do. Once you see a single Menace, you will win the game. It's excellent. So that is the strategy. So then, basically, what you're going to do is you're just going to try to out card advantage the opponent by locking them at 0. So lock them at 0, make their damage completely null, get out some great drills. So if you want to go aggressive, the best drill to get out if you want to go aggressive, that'd be like the transformation drill. So this will allow you again to do more Menace. Defensive, of course, is the protection drill. I usually get one of these 2 drills first, depending. If I want rescue, I'll grab the Overpowering Aura drill first. So if I just want rescue in play, or obviously if I'm facing an anger deck, I'll grab the Overpowering Aura drill first. If I'm facing any aggro beats deck, regardless of me wanting rescue or not, I'll probably just grab the protection drill. Or if I just want to go super aggressive with Menace, I'll grab the Transformation Drill. So there are some awesome combos this deck can do. The sword, I just want to keep talking about this sword dodge card, how amazing it is. Because this deck does play some dead cards. And if you draw on a Menace, or you draw into like some of the drills and whatnot, you want, like, if you're facing any deck that you think is going to be playing physical attacks, you want to tutor out sword dodge into your hand with aggressive sword drill. Because it's going to give you a block, and then it's also going to give you the ability to cycle your hand. Get any sword attack from your life deck into your hand. Amazing. So you draw dead, you draw any setup, any planning card, any block that you don't want. You can turn it into a sword attack. Amazing. And then likewise, another amazing combo this deck has. I really like this combo. The Emergence Prep Ball combo. It's a great, awesome combo. Just to put the hate on the opponent. So just after you've stage locked him, like you've done Menace twice, you know, the opponent's just waning down. Like you do some attacks and they're taking some damage, and they're like, oh, thank the Lord, he only has one card in his hand. Well, you do Prep Ball for Emergence, Emergence for Menace in play, and Menace. You do like 13 damage with that single card. So like I said, guys, the amount of actions that this deck can generate is insane. It has multiple cards that tutor cards. You have Prep Ball, you have Dashing Sword Attack, you have Rescue, you have Menace. You can use Menace just a boatload of times, and then get those unstoppable, unpreventable Saiyan Sword Strikes. So that's it for the deck list video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a super fun, super interesting deck to play. And the cool thing about it, again, is that the whole idea of starting on either level 1 or level 2. They won't expect it. They'll think you're crazy. They'll think you're crazy when you start on level 1 Trunks with Dynamic Mastery. They'll be like, why even play Dynamic Mastery if you're going to start on level 1? And then you show them when you play Menace 9 times in a single combat. So please don't hesitate to hit that like button if you like this video, guys. Stay tuned for more deck lists, because we got a ton more deck lists coming out. We're going to have a Cell deck list. We're going to update our Nail Namekian, our Orange Wheelo. We got a guest profile deck list coming from Kelly Dennis. He got a Cell Junior tag team deck, our first Cell Junior deck. You guys want to see that. So stay tuned, guys, and as always, turn your dial to Random Number Gaming for weekly updates for the Dragon Ball Z card game.